Welcome back to another episode of Misplaced Garage. Back working on the Triumph yet again. I'm gonna start by degreasing the engine bay and getting all the crud out of there so that it's more of like a workable environment. It's got some good grind down here where the engine's at. It's pretty disgusting. Obviously, I'm gonna cover up the hole into the inside so that it doesn't, so I don't spray water in there. But other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. Picked up some Zep engine degreaser. Gonna see if this stuff works. It was like $3, so I don't. Why wouldn't it work? But $3 is pretty cheap. We'll find out. So it's been a few days later since I last cleaned the engine bay. Obviously, I degreased the whole thing and we cleaned it quite a few times and got rid of basically everything we possibly could. And then I used an air compressor and just blew all the water off. There's a little bit of surface rust on here that's just flash rusting from taking off paint and whatnot, but it's not too bad. It's all fixable, obviously. I'm gonna start working on this upper portion up here. I don't know what this is called, the firewall, I guess. I'm going to work on this, get rid of all this junk up here. I'm going to obviously like label the brakes and stuff, because when I take that off, then that'll be a whole thing, redoing all of the brakes. But I want to assess all of this metal up here. It looks mostly savable from what I can tell. I mean, there's a decent amount of rust on there, but I don't think any of it's through, so that should be savable. Said that I was going to be labeling the brakes on which line goes where and whatnot with those, and you're probably wondering why I'm not doing that with the wiring. Is because I'm going to scrap basically all of the wiring in this car. Very small amounts of it even worked when I drove it. Like, I didn't have headlights, brake lights, reverse lights. I didn't have any of that. I had like 2 dash lights that worked. Like, none of the gauges lit up and none of that. So I'm going to basically start completely from scratch and put new stuff into it so I don't have to. It'll be less of a headache with new stuff than trying to figure out how this old stuff works, because it's just a bunch of spaghetti mess, and they use like extremely weird connectors and whatnot. So if you see me just cutting wires, that's why. Well, overall, it's not in horrible condition, I would say. It's pretty decent. There's obviously some good rust in parts of it, but none of it's like pushing through. All of it is still extremely solid, so that's why I think everything here is savable. It's just gonna take some time and effort to get it all back to how I want it. I think I might have to cut these off, which is okay. Not the end of the world, but I do have a lot of work ahead of me. So I picked up some spray paint for the firewall over here. I'm actually going to start on this upper section. As you can see, I already started removing a lot of the rust, but I'm going to start on this upper section, then later off do this section, and then that. Do them all separately. Alright, well, I got most of it wire wheeled, all the areas that I can get at least. I'm gonna try out this rust dissolver in a small portion to see how the metal reacts. And if it goes good, I will use this for all of it. I'd say that's definitely worth the time to do to the whole thing. You just kind of wipe it on, and then once it starts cleaning up, you wipe it off as best you can. It doesn't really wipe off super easily, but you use rubbing alcohol before you paint, so then you clean it completely off. And yeah, it looks pretty dang good compared to the rest of it. So I will be doing that to the whole thing. So there's actually a little broken off bolt right here, and underneath it is a welded on nut, so I'm thinking I can just hit this out the other side, hopefully. There we go. And now that I have it pretty much to where I want it, most of the rust is gone except for in the battery tray. I'm gonna remove any like grease or the pink stuff that I use, any of that. I'm going to remove it with some isopropyl alcohol, and that just requires a basic wipe down, and it's pretty straightforward. Just remove anything that shouldn't be on it before painting. And this also removes any like dust and contaminants and really anything that you don't want in paint, and it'll hopefully make it stick better. See, like that. That would be between your paint and the metal. And you don't really want that. Plus the stuff dries extremely quickly. So actually, before I lay primer down on the whole thing, I'm going to spray inside the battery box with rust reformer. And it's only because I wasn't able to get all of the rust out of here. It's pitted pretty badly, and I probably should just replace this box, but I think this stuff should make it last a little bit longer at least, and hopefully it'll make it look a little better, because supposedly it converts rust, so it's pretty cool. I've used it before and it did what it said, so hopefully it does what it said again, but we'll find out. So here we go, on to painting. While that rust reformer is drying in there, it takes a bit longer to dry than this stuff from what I understand. So what's on the can, I'm gonna give the rest of it a light coat of primer, but I'm not going to do the inside where it's black, just because I want that to cure as long as possible. So I would say that looks a heck of a lot better. Obviously there's still some, like, where the paint is, there's some basically like warping of the paint. I don't know how else to describe it, but it looks pretty good compared to what it was. I'm going to let this dry for probably an hour or two, then I'm gonna give it a light sand and then give it one more coat, and then that'll probably be good for this primer. And then I can, obviously not today since I don't want to get anything in that primer, I'm gonna start working on the front of the firewall and this portion, because this is pretty rusted and I think I have to take some paint off, which is not the end of the world because this car may end up getting repainted at some point, but I want to make this look a lot nicer. That's why I didn't really go crazy with the masking here. I just didn't want to throw a bunch of paint down there that I have to sand off later on. But yeah, once I get that done, prime that, and then paint all of this and leave that for a while, and then I can start working on the front end, because this is going to take a long time and there's a lot of little nooks and crannies. Well guys, that'll wrap up that video. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.